This week, we're going to talk about why I think you should only do business when you can control the entire process involved in delivering your product or your service. If you like my videos, remember to hit the bell and subscribe to my channel. This is the first episode of 2020. We're very happy to be back with you. And this week, I'm going to talk about probably one of the most important lessons that I learned in business. There's a lot of people out there telling you that, you can start a company, you can start your marketing agencies, and then you can just outsource anything. All you need to do is bring clients in and then outsource every part of your business. Well, I'm here to tell you that unfortunately, in my experience, it does not work that way. And I would stay away from any business where you have to outsource everything, you don't control every process of delivering the product or service that you're there to deliver. I want to share a few sort of personal stories with you and tell you some of the risks involved in doing business that way. So the very first risk you face when you outsource everything or when you don't control the entire process is a reputational risk. And that's by far probably one of the biggest risks that you may face. So let me give you a couple of stories. There was one business that I did with my partner where we were delivering furniture, we were selling furniture to hotels, restaurants, and so on. So we were buying furniture in Asia, which in essence is okay. You don't have to manufacture or produce every product that you sell, okay? That's not what I'm talking about. But the point was that in our business, I was in charge of bringing in the clients and my partner was in charge of talking to the suppliers and the furniture. So as you can see already, while we were in a partnership, I wasn't controlling the entire process. So I was fully relying on him doing a great job with the suppliers so that I could deliver to the partners. The partners would only speak to me and I would be the contact. And if anything went wrong, I would be the one responsible. And trust me, when something can go wrong in business, when you allow it, or you're put in a situation where you haven't protected yourself enough and something can go wrong, it usually does go wrong. And that's what happened to me. At some point where we had a little falling out, my partner suddenly told me that, listen, the terms with the suppliers have changed. They want more prepayment from the client. They are no longer going to honor the delivery dates that they promised. It's going to take longer. And well, you have nothing to do about it. And there really wasn't anything I could do about it. The only thing I could do is go to the client, apologize 100 times, tell him, listen, now you have to increase the prepayment. And well, unfortunately, the products are going to come 4 weeks late. How do you think my partner took it? Sorry, the client took it? Not very well at all. And who could I go to? Nobody. I wasn't in charge of the entire process. I didn't make sure that I would also have the direct contact to the supplier so that I could speak to them. I relied simply on my partner doing that job, and it cost me, definitely cost me in reputation. The other thing is, with that person, with that client, we had other businesses with that client as well. Not with this partner, with another partner, but all that reputational risk, that reputational damage that was done from this business transformed immediately to all the other deals that I had with that client. Because once you sort of let them down once, they don't make a distinction what it was just this business. They just feel like they can't rely on you as much anymore. We had another story with another good partner of mine, which we're still doing business with in a marketing company. We had a great client, a large client, give us a lot of business, but once they asked us for something that we didn't particularly do in-house, but we decided not to say no to the client, we decided to say yes and outsource this business. And as I said before, when something can go wrong, it usually does. We were not in control of that process. Also, when I say we're not in control, what I mean is you don't have to do everything yourself, but you have to be in control enough where if somebody doesn't achieve a deadline, doesn't deliver exactly what they promised, that you have some control mechanism, some levers you can push so that it's delivered to you faster, on time, in better quality. We didn't have those levers. We simply had an email and a phone to a project manager where we could call up and say, listen, hurry up. The project manager would say, yeah, sorry, I don't have enough people to put on it. That person is sick, that person can't come in today, and that's all we could do. Again, a very, very strong reputational hit. While we still got to keep the client and continue working with the client, you can feel that the client is a little disappointed because we couldn't deliver exactly what we promised. So that reputational risk, when you are not fully controlling the process from the moment you speak with the client, do the briefing, to the moment you actually deliver what it is you promised, you're in for a very, very, very big risk. The second risk is a financial risk. A lot of the contracts that you sign with clients have a clause in them where you have to pay some sort of penalties if you're late. Now imagine if you do not control the entire situation, if you do not have control over the production or a real lever where you can somehow push the production to work faster, push some employees to work faster or deliver you better quality, then you may have to pay money from your own pocket, which may kill all the profitability that you had in that deal in the first place. So you ended up doing all of this work, but because of all these penalties, you get close to nothing and you just wasted a whole bunch of time. The third risk is an actual existential risk. And I'll give you the example of Netflix. When Netflix started, they were basically buying content and streaming it to customers. Now, everything was great until their business model worked way better than anybody expected. What happened? The studios saw that it's a very, very profitable and lucrative deal. Why should we stream our content through Netflix when we can launch our own streaming platforms? And that's exactly what someone like Disney did. Disney launched Disney Plus, where they can now stream their own content in their own platform, and they pulled all of the content away from Netflix. Now, imagine if suddenly Netflix would lose all of the content because all of those big studios would start their own platforms. It's an existential threat. They will be out of business. But Netflix figured it out a long time ago, started producing their own original content. Why? So that they would be controlling the entire process. So they would have their own content that they could stream on that platform. And that's what I really, really recommend. When you just start a small business, when you're starting out, you typically, and I know this, I did this myself, you typically want to say yes to almost any deal that you sort of get. It's not a bad strategy. You say yes and then you figure out how to deliver it. But at some point you have to understand that when you say yes to a lot of these things and you just outsource them and you let someone else do the work, then it may cause you a lot more damage than it brings you money. So weigh that money that you get versus the risk of the reputational, financial, and existential risks that come along with all of this outsourcing, and think that sometimes it's better to say no to a deal, to save face, and find a better deal which you can control, which you can deliver, and in the end, that will be a lot more profitable for you. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Remember, subscribe, hit the bell, and keep watching us every week.